Hi, my name is Pattie Grimm, and I'm going to do a short bio intro before I get into the actual formal presentation and also provide some context for this 10-minute, 15-minute demo that I'll be doing in a few minutes. So my name is Pattie Grimm. I'm a senior business leader that has worked in financial services as one of the youngest female vice presidents for a major California bank, leading them through major change transformation and starting my passion for leadership development, performance improvement, team improvement, etc. many, many, many years ago. I worked for Microsoft for 15 years in their global enterprise space and even lived in Singapore for 3 years and ran their customer partner experience team across all of Asia Pacific region. I left Microsoft, started my own company where I was doing leadership work, business transformation, change leadership, team effectiveness, personal effectiveness, a lot of work around sales, sales management, sales leadership, sales training, negotiation skills, all those things that you probably have courses around. And I've actually worked as a resource network for Forum Corporation, Franklin Covey, and several other organizations where I taught their courses and using their content to be one of their contract facilitators. I also worked for VMware most recently as a senior director of sales enablement, leading the global SaaS transformation that helped them become more customer centric and more customer and employee focused. And that was the last full time job that I had. And I'm back doing contract work again because I love it. This is my passion. My personal mission is to educate and empower people to be the best they can be in any endeavor they choose. So that's a little bit about me. The second thing in context for this presentation, this is part of a presentation I actually started giving before COVID, but became even more relevant before and now the post-COVID era when we're trying to lead people through all these terrible changes. And we have the great resignation and quiet quitting. We have 25% of women considering leaving the workforce due to stress and overwork through COVID. And so we've got so many things going on. So I like to take context and theory and make it very simple by giving people three things, four things, five things, never more than five. And I'll explain five when we get a chance to meet personally, but something that what people can walk away with. So this is about the 4 R's every leader needs to know to build a high performance culture that doesn't just survive in the new world of work, but actually thrives and that delivers real business results. I try and take theory, make it practical, and here are the three things, the four things you need to do. So just for context, the four things or the 4 R's are reimagine your customer experience. And for this presentation, we're going to pretend like we had that module last week. The one I'm going to do the intro to today is reshape your leadership. The third one is re-energize your workforce. And the fourth one is reinvent your work processes. So I've done thousands and thousands of training presentations, conferences, keynotes, workshops all around the world, literally all around the world, on team effectiveness, leading change and transformation, leadership effectiveness, sales management, sales leadership, negotiation skills, probably everything on the face of earth you can imagine, except time management, which is one that I do not do because I myself need to improve on my time management. So give me just a minute and I'm going to share my screen in the slide mode and then I will get on to the presentation part. So we'll do a quick timeout, make sure the display settings are correct so you're seeing the full slides and hopefully me up in the corner. Okay, let's get started. Hi, my name is Pattie Grimm, and I'll be your facilitator, your trainer, your guide, your coach, your mentor, your peer, your cheerleader for the course that we're going through on the 4 R's every leader needs to know to not only just thrive in the new world of work, or not only just survive in the new world of work, but actually thrive. And how do you help create a culture that delivers real strong results for you? I have more than 25 years experience in the enterprise space for large companies like a large California bank where I was the youngest female vice president in the company, working for Microsoft for 15 years on their global enterprise space, running my own company 3 times, and also most recently working for VMware as a senior sales director and sales director for sales enablement and sales excellence, leading their global transformation. So as we talked about last time, we talked about leading in turbulent times and why culture matters. So I'm going to do a quick overview on that. And then we're going to get into our session today around reshape your leadership. Last session, we talked about reimagine your customer experiences. We are here on reshaping your leadership, which is absolutely critical to all of our success. And we want to then next week, we'll focus on re-energizing your workforce and we'll close out by reinventing your work processes. How do you always make this all work? So we talked about this, the fact that there is no new normal. But what the new normal requires is new leadership. And you've heard and seen all of these things in various forms. The world was completely turned upside down in February, March, a couple of years ago when the COVID pandemic hit. And suddenly we found ourselves working from home 24 by 7, living in the same house with our family and friends and our loved ones. Hopefully, they're still loved ones. 24 by 7, becoming part time teachers, counselors, schools, our world was completely turned upside down, and yet somehow we thrived through that. And some companies did extremely well because they were able to adapt to that new world of work. They weren't looking for the new normal because there is none. We can't go back and recreate the past. Working from home became the norm, and now many companies are struggling with how do we make hybrid work? How do we make it work that's the best way we can be? The research shows that hybrid workplaces are more effective and more productive than having everybody back in the office. And yet some companies are struggling with that. So how do you make that work? As a leader, you've got to think about how do I lead differently in this new world? People are simply zoomed out, right? We're on video from 7 o'clock or maybe even 5 o'clock in the morning from some of us. So sometimes 8, 9, or 10 o'clock at night. I was on a call with Asia Pacific region last night until 9:30. So we're zoomed out. This digital revolution actually started back in the early 2000s. I remember I had a special project I worked on with one of our senior vice presidents for Microsoft, and he'd written a book in 2002 called The Digital Revolution. And it's still happening. It's going to continue to happen. You have increased customer demands, you have increased competition, and you have this multi-generational workforce. So let's talk about the fact that there's the old saying from Einstein that says insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, Peter Drucker, the great management guru, said the danger in turbulent times like we're living in now is not the turbulence. It's trying to use and act using yesterday's logic. So let's talk about the fact you need to reshape your leadership. Let's face it. I'm in a generation probably older or the same age of some of you, but that old command and control, do what I say because I say management style didn't work for us and does not work at all for the multi-generational workforce we're leading today. You're leading people from 85, maybe 90, down to 18 and 15. It requires new kinds of leadership. So I want to start with you. I want to start with you and put you in the context of thinking who was the most influential leaders in your life who influenced you, who you are, what you stand for, and the kind of leader you are today. It might have been a coach if you played sports. I played soccer. I played tennis and softball throughout college and high school. So maybe you had a great coach. Maybe you had some not so great coaches. Maybe it was a piano teacher. Maybe you played music or you danced or you were into science or something else, but you had a great mentor, coach, teacher. Maybe it was a boss. Hopefully, some of you have had great bosses. I'm sure some of you have had some not so great ones, and we'll talk about that. Maybe it was your parents. I learned so much from my father. I thank him every day for wanting me to be a boy and raising me around sports and cars. And before I got my driver's license, I had to learn how to drive. Younger people won't even know what this is. I had to learn to drive in a truck with a 3 on the column and a clutch. I had to learn how to change the tires and spark plugs before I could get my license because my dad wanted me to be self-sufficient and to be strong and independent. Maybe it was Martin Luther King, who had a dream to make the world a better place. The most important human desire is to make a difference. Maybe it was Mary Kay. She founded her company for 2 reasons. One, to make every woman feel beautiful, and the other one was to give women a way to earn money so they could be self-sufficient. So I'm going to put you in breakout groups for 3 minutes. I want each one of you to talk about who was those influential leaders in your life. How did they influence you? How did they help you become who you are today? Okay? Assignment clear? Go to your breakout groups. Welcome back, everybody. I'm sure you had some really interesting conversations. What's interesting is I've done this exercise and another slight version of it all over the world, all over the world. And when I ask people to think about those great leaders, They might think of somebody famous like Martin Luther King or Gandhi or Mary, Margaret Thatcher, or even the new woman vice president for New Zealand, Jacinda. Maybe you think of those people, but to think of somebody who influenced you in your life, parents, family, friends, but think about those bosses who might have influenced you. Think about those bosses. So, how did that positive bosses influence you? They were a coach, they were a mentor, they believed in you, they put faith in you, they trusted you, they gave you the information to be successful and helped you when you weren't, by coaching you back into play if you'd gone off the course. Now, I want you to think about just quickly the worst boss you ever worked for. Now, you learn lots of great lessons from those good managers and leaders, but you also learn great lessons from those bad ones. Maybe you had a bad manager, bad leader, maybe somebody who was like Quasimodo with a hump, and that was like pounding you all the time and telling you how stupid you were, how wrong you were, and doing that sometimes in public. I hope you never experienced that. If you did, what did they do? Did they berate you in public? Did they criticize everything that you did? Did you do a really lengthy report and it came back all highlighted and red of everything you've done wrong and there was no positive feedback? I want to ask you, when you worked for that boss, how did you feel? What did you do? Did you find yourself just putting your head down and maybe doing that quiet quitting? Did you find yourself avoiding them at all cost? Did you find yourself just giving up and saying, well, I'll just do average work? Because the way leaders treat their people impacts how they perform on the job with each other and your customers, directly impacts their productivity, directly impacts your profitability. And the final question I want you to think about when you had that bad leader, what did you learn? I hope you learn what to never do to someone else, because I want you to understand and just remember, if you ever find yourself at that moment when you're ready to go grab that employee's throat or go say something overly critical without thinking, why would you pass that feeling on to anybody else if that is how you felt? Why would you pass that feeling on to anyone else? So there's always been this big debate about good leaders, great managers. I will tell you, the research shows that we still need good managers, we still need great managers, and we need great leaders more than ever. In times of turbulence, it requires more leadership. In times of stability, it requires more management. And one of the reasons, if you go back to the root word, the Latin word, because I have this strange habit of wanting to know where words come from. It's always interesting to me. And I'll give you a really kind of interesting example. Years ago, we used to call employees subordinates. Subordinates. So I thought, well, that's really a strange word. And so I looked up what the word means. Well, sub is below, and ordinate is a derivative of ordinary. So now you've just called your employees below ordinary when you call them subordinates. So the words you use as a leader matter. When I looked up the word manage or manager, it means hands, hands on. So managers tend to delegate, they tend to motivate, they tend to provide people information, they tend to tell people what to do. Where leaders, the word leader comes to determine the course of a ship. So if you're leading your team in this turbulent time, you're standing at the front of the ship and you're looking out into the future. And you've got that vision and set of values to guide people to get to that direction. But you don't tell them how to get there, because leaders tend to empower, not just delegate. They tend to inspire, not just motivate. And leaders tend to ask questions that lead to self-discovery learning, where managers will tell someone, go do this, 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 and this. And the employee goes off and does that, but they may not know what to do next. Where the leader says, here's the destination. We're all going to New York City. Now, I'm going to take a plane, but you could take a train, a plane, an automobile, a boat, however you want to get there. But the destination is to be at this point at this particular time. So being that great leader and asking great questions is key to your success. A couple of things, and we're going to get into some exercises on each one of these 5. Like I said, I do 3, 4, 5 things. These 5 essential leadership skills. There has never been a time in our history that has called for more courageous leaders who are willing to be authentic and genuine, genuine, and be able to have the courage to do the right thing, sometimes even in the face of adversity. So leadership is about having courage. The second C is to be compassionate. People need compassion today more than ever. They need compassion and to understand that you know what they're going through. Those 1 in 4 women that are maybe considering leaving your company because of the too much work going on, or that's not working for them in the new hybrid environment, or you're requiring them to come to the office and it just doesn't fit their style anymore, or what they need in order to raise their family as well as raise themselves and to be a great employee. So it's having compassion. Leaders have to be connectors. If you create that vision and values, but you don't provide the people the roadmap to get from where you are to New York City, they can't get there. You need to connect the dots for them. There's a crazy old exercise called 9 dots. We've got 9 dots on a piece of paper, and you're supposed to draw with 4 straight lines, connect all 9 dots. Well, the only way to connect those 9 dots is go outside the lines and come back in to connect another dot. Leaders are great communicators. You don't have to be an extroverted, rah-rah, stand on the chair, cheering leader to be effective, but you have to be a great communicator in your own style. I once saw someone, a senior leader within Microsoft when I worked there, who had taken over a role for Steve Ballmer. And Steve Ballmer, if you've not seen him, is energetic. He's passionate. I love this company. He now owns the LA Clippers. Yeah, he now owns the LA Clippers. Sorry, I had a brain fart for a minute. He now owns the LA Clippers. And I saw this senior leader who was very much an introvert try and be this highly extroverted Steve Ballmer on stage in front of 35,000 employees at one of our conferences. And it was so sad because it wasn't his style. You need to find your style that fits you and adapt that to you. You could admire all these great leaders, but adapt it to your style, because be the best you, everyone else is taken. And they're great collaborators. You've got to collaborate across the organization as a leader, whatever your level is, upward to the senior leaders, below you to the people below you, and even out to your customers and partners. So this is a leadership model we're going to operate with. Something that I created a number of years ago, that leadership is about achieving, but more importantly, sustaining extraordinary results by bringing out the best in others while leveraging the best in you. It is truly a servant leadership and bringing out the best in everyone. 2 closing quotes before I break you into groups. We're going to do exercises around the 5 C's throughout the rest of the workshop today, so you walk away with practical things you can use. Simon Sinek is one of the people that seems to be in the press a lot on LinkedIn and on TED Talks and things, and he's a really great leader. But remember those leaders we talked about, the great leader and the not so great leader? Be the leader you wish you had. Would you want to work for you? Do you feel inspired and motivated by the things you say and do? And my final quote that I hope you keep this in your heart and not just in your head. It's from Maya Angelou, who said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." So let's get into our breakout groups, and we'll start working on some of these 5 C's. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the sharing right now, and I will turn off the recording. Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you, and I would be honored to be one of your facilitators. Have a fantastic day.